I wanted to talk about the Seattle Sounders players that have the most at stake in the Club World Cup. I'll start it off with the most obvious, which I think is Obed Vargas. Wrote a feature about him, MLSsoccer.com. Go read it. But the timing of this for him is pretty incredible in the sense that this transfer buzz around him has been building and building and building for certainly the last year or so, and really the last couple years when it kind of became evident how talented he really is. Like, I was just thinking about, like, what if he goes out in the PSG game and just rips like unreal Golazo from outside the box. Like, it's funny, one individual play like that, I like shouldn't inform your evaluation of a player or influence how much money you spend on them. But if he does that, like we joke about, oh, the price went up. Like literally, the price is like related to this.
It is.
If he goes,
you want a big game player.
Yeah, you want a big game player, and if he capitalizes on this moment and balls out or scores any type of goal, he literally, like, it has a direct impact on the future of his career. Like, the types of clubs that might be interested in him, it might actually like have an effect on who that is, how much the fee is going to be. So this is a like huge, this pivotal moment in his career. Like, what happens in this tournament is going to have a direct influence on his future. So a lot on the line for the kid.
I mean, on top of that, he has made it very vocally clear that his favorite team to watch, his favorite team of all time that he's wanted to play for his entire life is Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
I think that he is the perfect player for like a Simeone midfield and like the type of identity and like strength and defensive structure. It's not similar to Brian Schmetzer, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's a workhorse. He wants to do the dirty work. He wants to put in all of that work. And I think that if he can show out in that game specifically, I think that there's going to be at least some interest from Atletico Madrid because that's such a good fit.
The more I think about it just now, that's a phenomenal fit. That might be the best fit I've heard yet.
And he wants to be there. Like, he wants to be there. So like how much better does it get to have an incredible young talent who has dreamed of playing for this club, is a hard worker, grits it out, plays day in and day out minutes in a top 10 league in the world already, and you get to see him play against your first team in a competitive match. That's probably the biggest single moment for any player during this Club World Cup across the board. I think that's going to be the single biggest moment for anyone in this tournament.
And all his like best attributes make perfect sense. Like his skills in possession and ball retention and ball progression are all world class. That plays in La Liga. And that's like the exact type of player that Atletico Madrid, I would think, would be all about at least taking a look at. So, and
maybe it's not Atletico Madrid at first, but it's like the exposure of him to La Liga even more. I mean, they've said that they get inquiries about Obed Vargas from everywhere, right? Like, I mean, anyone who has, I think someone said it at some point, it was like anyone who has a pulse knows about Obed Vargas.
Well, Craig Weibel, and I included this quote actually leading my Obed feature, but he said what I think we already knew, but it was interesting to hear it confirmed. Every major team in the world has like set of analytics that are specific to their club that they use to evaluate players and what players are going to be the best fits on their teams and all that. But there's like a relatively uniform kind of set of stuff that a lot of these teams look at, and they're not necessarily even watching the tape to start it off. They're just looking at the performance metrics, and the term that Craig Weibel used was red alarms. Like he said, every team in the world using these analytics has seen like what he's putting up, and when that happens, it's like woo 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 woo, that and he's done that.
Yeah, like if you've ever played a Football Manager and you're like scouting players or whatever, and you're looking at all those digits, that's basically what they have. Actually, Football Manager itself actually does that now. They supply scouting statistics to teams, which I think is hilarious because it's like, okay, bro, I guess I'm a GM now. Cool. But yeah, dude, we know that he is not long for the Sounders, but I really do think if there's one even positive about this tournament, it's get that kid as many minutes as possible and get him in front of as many coaches as possible and just like skyrocket his value and do what you have always promised him you're going to do and move him on to Europe so that he can do the things that he wants to do in his career and lead the Mexican national team to winning a World Cup in 2028, or 2026. It's going to happen. Whatever.
The next player I wanted to talk about, no, he's actually not on the
okay,
outline.
Yeah.
But, Pedro de la Vega.
Oh, yeah.
With all the transfer buzz surrounding Obed Vargas, Pedro de la Vega is the one that Craig Weibel. Craig Weibs. Pedro de la Vega is the one that Craig Weibel has said generates even more interest and he gets more phone calls about than even Obed Vargas. Maybe that's changed in the last couple months or so, but as recently as the last few months, Craig Weibel said that de la Vega is still the one generating the most interest. And even if that's cooled off a little bit, I would imagine that's still the case, at least to some degree.
Yeah.
But this is a player that still has a lot to prove. He has at least stayed on the field for most of this season, save for the one injury spell, but he's played 600 plus minutes this season. You've seen glimpses of it. He has 3 assists. He had the goal in the Nashville game. But there's been, I would argue that his assist total should be like a little higher based on like high quality chances that he's created that didn't get finished. But no, I mean, I was talking about this on the call-in show with one of our callers, Gianni. We were doing De La Vega discourse. And, when we think about what's gone wrong with this team this year, why they're 7-6-5 and at 1.44 points per game, there's a lot of different things that you can point to. But dating back to last season, I think, and look, this is not bagging on De La Vega at all. Like, I think it's obvious that he's a very, very talented player, and it's obvious that he's like a great guy that is great in the locker room, and he wants to succeed incredibly badly, and he is doing his best. He's busted his ass physically to get back to where he's at, and he's playing better this year. But you have to acknowledge the simple reality of the situation that if you have a player who's been on a DP spot on your roster for a year and a half, dating back to last year, and the output that you've gotten out of that roster spot is 2 goals, 4 assists in 1,300 minutes, which is what De La Vega has during his whole time in MLS, that is going to be
bad.
That's going to be reflected in your record and your points per game to an extent. That is just like the fact of it. And so again, that's not to like, that's a lot of it, like, to be fair, is not his fault. Like what happened last year was not his fault. He couldn't stay on the field because he kept getting injured, but it has created a situation where going into this tournament, he has a lot to prove still. He has a lot to prove for the rest of this season. And this is like a big opportunity for him to kind of make the statement that he is the caliber of player that you spend $7 million on, and that can be an impact needle moving player for this team in this league in a situation like this. So I think he's got as much on the line as anyone here.
And that was why at the beginning of the season, I was trying to pump the brakes on everyone, saying, it's his breakout, he's breaking out, he's blah, 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 all of this stuff, because now the minutes are bearing it out, and he's not. He hasn't done anything. I think this is an under-talked about storyline, so I'm glad that you guys chatted about it, but it's like, he has been disappointing. He has been a disappointing player this season. For the minutes that he's gotten, for the salary that he's being paid, for the spot that he's taking up, I think that this is a tournament where if he performs really well and the phones start ringing, you pick it up, you answer it, and you hit the eject button. I gotta be honest, because it's not even necessarily that he's a bad player. It's just sometimes you have to read the tea leaves. In Major League Soccer, you don't have 2 seasons to wait for a player to figure it out. You don't. You have one DP spot. You use that one DP spot on someone who can make an impact, right? Like Albert Rusnak, okay? That is a way more justifiable. If you're comparing the two, Ari, if you're comparing Pedro de la Vega and Albert Rusnak on DP contracts, Albert Rusnak looks like a goddamn slam dunk steal, right? And I think he is.
Production-wise.
Yeah, but that's the reality, is like they were buying this player to try and hit some upside on him. And like, you got to know when to sell. You got to know when your asset is depreciating, and you got to realize that like he's an amazing player, but maybe this just isn't the league that he's going to get it done in. And that's okay. That's okay. That's doing right by your player and doing right by your wallet and your cap space. And it's like, I'm not down on I don't care what they do. Honestly, like whatever. Like this is not where I think a lot of contention comes from. I think that this team has been riddled by injuries, which has hurt the team more than this. But I think this is you're right. Like this is a part of it. And you got to think about it. Like if he does well and he shows out and those teams come calling, I think you should truly entertain those calls and maybe even make a deal, even losing some money.
When I think about, again, why this team's at 1.44 points per game right now, I mean, we can debate the tactics in individual games and the setup and the lineups until we're blue in the face. The reality is when you have your DP number 9 missing pretty much the entire season with injury, so you're not getting production from that DP spot. And then your other DP spot is at 1-3 in 600 minutes. It shouldn't shock anybody, honestly, that they're. There's a lens to look at it like that. The fact that they're in that situation with 2 of their DP spots and they're still 7, 6, and 5 is like.
Well, it proves the point that this is the deepest team in Major League Soccer.
That is true. Is it not a testament to the depth?
Yeah.
Like I know
it is.
That's going to piss people off, but like I think you could at least argue that
afloat right now is actually
it's
incredible.
impressive.
It's incredible.
Like yeah,
it is.
And there's like the depth has been a big reason for that. Like guys like Paul Rothrock and KKR stepping up.
But regardless, you can't have a guy taking up a DP, or it's hard to have a guy taking up a DP spot when your other starting DP is injured, with 0.69 expected assists and 1.49 expected goals. I'm not saying that those are completely accurate. I mean, you're the one who brought it up, who said he probably should have more assists.
I'm proud of you for dishing those.
But
stats.
I'm saying, like, if you agree with the numbers, if you agree with looking at that, he's not good on that, right? He's not. That's bad numbers. He is in the lower 48th percentile for that for goals, and the 33rd percent for expected assists. Okay, if that's your mode of understanding soccer, he looks bad. If you look at the actual statistics, he looks bad. If you're looking at just eye test, you see moments where he's great, but that's it. It's moments, and it's not DP quality. It's not. Albert Rusnak, DP quality. Jordan Morris, when he's been on the field, DP quality. Pedro de la Vega, you can't even compare them to those 2 players, like, at all. At all.
And there is,
and that's not to hate on the guy, by the way. I like Pedro. It's just that's the reality of the situation.
You have to be like brutally honest and realistic when it comes to these DP spots. They're too important.
That's what I was trying to say at the beginning of the season. Everyone got on my ass, man. So I just shut up about it. But like, I've been feeling this.
Yeah, and like, okay, the thing is, there is still the rest of the season for this narrative to change, but that sort of comes back to what I'm saying about why this Club World Cup is so important for him, because he could put. I'm fully willing. I would love to be for my concerns to be proven invalid on this, and I'm willing to give him every opportunity to do that. But
I guess he did. To be fair, he did score 2 against Antigua and then 1 against.
And he had an assist in
and an assist.
I think
no, he scored 3 against Antigua, but
I wouldn't categorize. I can't remember the term that you use, like that he was like that he had done nothing. Like I don't think that's the case, but like you have to think of it on a scale of like what you expect for a DP. Nothing. Yeah, like he's done well at times.
He has done TAM
had good
quality.
Moments. He's what?
He's done TAM quality.
That's kind of a fair way of putting it.
I think that if you put Jesus Ferreira in his DP spot, people are still disappointed. You know what I mean? People are probably more vocally disappointed. And you put Jesus Ferreira on TAM at that money, you're like, okay, well, he's been injured and, he'll figure it out. I really do think it's the spot in the money that he's making that's the issue, less than it being understandable that he's struggling.
Yeah, and like you can, because Ferreira hasn't produced like a DP this year, but he's not a DP, so it's not as much of an issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what he does with the opportunity, but if he goes out there and balls out, we'll be the first ones here to give him his praise for it, and he can really he can up his stock both with this team, but like globally with a good showing. So a lot on the line for him. Noah
and Craig.
You had Noah, you had two here. What you got?
Jesus Ferreira, right? I mean, we originally thought this guy's going to come in here and he's going to tear it up and we're going to see him for a season and then he's going to be gone to Europe. I think that was the assumption of a lot of fans and maybe even myself to a certain extent. And he hasn't done it. You know, he's been fighting for comfortability, I think is a good way to put it. And he hasn't necessarily settled in any one role or one position. He's looked great in flashes, kind of like Pedro. But this is an opportunity for him to be like, I get an opportunity. Okay. You're going to be the starting 9. Brian is putting it on you. You are going to be the starting 9. If you can get it done against some of the best teams in the world, I promise you, your stock is up. Your stock is up. That's what you came here for. To get a fresh start, to get an opportunity like this. You come here, take a pay cut for this opportunity, and guess what? You're getting it. So he's got to take it, and he's got to run with it, and he's got to perform. And I really do. I think that this is going to be where our valuation of him for this season comes from. I really do. I think that there's going to be what did you do with the minutes you got? And I think that if he can do something here, it's like tip of the cap, okay. If not, it's like, all right, like, I don't know, like it's kind of a determining moment in a way for him, I think. And I'm not saying he has to go out and score 50 goals. I'm saying he needs to look dangerous. He needs to look like the striker that we knew him to be previously, and score a goal as well would be great. But, you know, because for my own agenda, because I don't want to get a tattoo already. I don't want to get another one.
I mean, was the tat bet
5?
all comps or league play?
I think it's all. Oh, I don't know. I think all comps.
No, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Who you got next?
Ryan Kent.
Yeah.
I think he was another one where we're like, you're not long for this team, and I hope it's that way as well. He's a really talented player in the prime of his career. If he wants to, that's really where it's at. Is if he wants to go out and play somewhere else, this is his opportunity to go show that he's still got that level that he played in that Rangers club that, you know, did so well that year and he was dominant. I just think he could get his groove back a little bit and feel like the top class player that he is. So I think if we're ranking them though, I think that's probably in order is Obed, Pedro, Jesus, and Ryan.